I work in startups because I believe in startups. I wake up and I go to sleep making sure that they can be successful. For me, my job exists because we believe that startups have a big place in this world and we want to help them and make them successful.
I'm Laura Lewington, tech presenter and author.
And I'm Ben Clark, director of Future Worlds.
This is the Age of AI. Hi Ben, we're back.
And hello, Laura.
Today we're joined by Laura Modiano. Laura leads startups across EMEA at OpenAI, where she works closely with founders, investors and developers building the next generation of AI companies.
Previously, she worked with top global VCs and led Gen AI business development and strategy, as well as healthcare and life sciences startups at AWS EMEA. Earlier, she was a consultant at Monitor Group, worked on AI at Boston Scientific, even led NHS strategy on genetic testing and digital health at University College Hospital, London.
She's also an angel investor backing early stage companies across the AI ecosystem. Laura, welcome to the podcast. Let's go back to the beginning of your career.
Yes.
How did you end up getting interested in medicine and healthcare back in the days where this began?
So I was born and raised in Greece and then with a very multinational, very European family. But I studied in Boston, which was an absolute pleasure to see the melting pot of students. And while I was a student, my grandmother had cancer. So she moved to Boston with me while I was 19. So I did a lot of the cancer care with her. She didn't speak English very well. So I got to see a lot of the system. And at the time, there was a startup that was helping her navigate a lot of her care. And I got fascinated by the fact that a technology company could help even, an older woman who barely speaks English have a delightful experience in the hardest time in her life. And that made me fall in love with tech. I graduated university in 2008. Everyone else was looking to do banking and consulting and traditional jobs. And at the time, the economy was where 2008 economy was. And I was excitedly not looking for traditional jobs. I thought I wanted to do something that could create value and change the world for people who need it. So I joined a very young startup at the time that was doing telehealth and helping people with their care at home.
2008 in tech terms was actually quite a long time ago. The
Yes.
world was a very different place.
As
in
my
terms of all
daughter
of
keeps
this.
reminding me, I am older than some.
Yeah, we'll have kids that do that to us. But if you look back at the moment we were in then and your belief that things could change, how do you feel now looking back at how things were looking then? Because you obviously had great faith in the fact that tech and AI, maybe AI, I don't know, could have great potential for us. But there's been so much change.
I am so proud of the work that OpenAI does, not just because it's incredible work, but because I have seen from the tech world what wasn't possible, that we worked hours and hours trying to do and we could imperfectly simulate. And now OpenAI does so perfectly and it's given so many people the power and capability to do. So, for example, one of the ideas that we had was in the conversation that a clinician was having with a patient at the time to listen to the conversation and be able to bring up information that was evidence-based. What is the latest research that a clinician would be able to have and inform the patient? And at the time, the technology wasn't there, whereas now we've done so much progress that it is possible. And we are delivering value to whether you're a clinician or a patient, whether it is your relationship with your bank and the money, or just going through the ideas and every single thing in between. So in every single vertical, it is now possible to connect information, to generate information on the spot, and to add value in everyone's professional and personal life.
We'll get into some of the specifics of that soon, but you have been working in this area through this transition to all of these apps and this information becoming more available to the public and to medics. But how was your move from healthcare to OpenAI? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Because I believe you were pretty enthusiastic about starting this job.
Yes. I mean, I have my dream job, and I wish everyone could get the pleasure that I get from working, the work that I do, but also the ecosystem that I work with.
Yeah. And there's proof here of your enthusiasm. Can you just... I think you need to explain the story of when you started this job, because this was no ordinary start to a new job.
So just before I started this job, I was in Paris for the Paris Olympics, and I had an accident. And it was a major accident. I couldn't walk. I had torn ligaments on my foot. I had fractures on my back. And it was 10 days before I started my job. And as soon as I was able to get on a plane, I went to San Francisco on a wheelchair in crutches, in a boot.
Incredible. Full of painkillers, I take it.
Yes, but full of energy, joy, and excitement, because I've waited my whole life to have a job that had so much meaning and so much value. And at a moment when being at the service of founders is all I've ever wanted. But now it's not just working with founders. It is working with founders in helping them build faster than they ever could before, with the best tools in the market, in the best team. And my colleagues are phenomenal. I get so much energy from the people I work with and the customers that I'm at the service of, but I get to learn so much from my colleagues, and every single one of them is excellent. So when I think of the pain that I was in 2 years ago, I truly feel that the work not only kept me going, but it gave me the strength to recover faster, so that I could be out there in the ecosystem and meet, whether it was students or founders or investors, so that I could, again, be of service to this work.
My day job running a startup accelerator, working with brilliant founders in universities, completely resonate with everything you say there. It's just so exciting, because it's seeing brilliant individuals who've got a passion to do something.
When you see a spark in someone's eyes, and I'm out there a lot, I meet so many founders, but you know when you see someone that has something, that they've got it, and it's exciting, and it's about to be something great, and the fact that you can help them along in that journey, the fact that we as a company get to work every day in just listening to them and saying, what are you working on? What is the one thing we can do to make you go faster and go from idea to generation, to growing, to scaling, to becoming successful and delivering that value to your customers? There's nothing more exciting or important that I could do with my career than help these people along in that journey. And I think it's an absolute privilege that I get to do that every day.
Now, we'd love to just get to know you a little bit more and just how you use AI.
I use AI every single day, and I think at this point for every single thing that I do. Currently, my favorite way to use AI is I use Codex, which is the agentic tool from OpenAI, and I genuinely use it for everything. So what I usually do is in the morning, I open it and I say, scan my Slack and tell me if there have been any updates across all the channels that I have, to see is there anything that I've missed, because obviously I live and I work in the UK, but we're a global company and I want to see everything that's happened across the team. And I get a bit of a quick summary, just what's happened the last 12 hours, last 24 hours, what should be top of mind, so I can start my day fully informed. It's extremely helpful, especially if you have 300 Slack channels. The other thing that I do is in my job, I have to think a lot, work a lot, produce a lot of documents. So I just open the microphone, and if I have any ideas, I will literally do a brain dump, and I'll say every thought that I have, especially if there's something new I want to work on, why, what the implications are. And then I'll ask it to create a bit of a structure to my thinking so that I have a thought partner. So I always have a coworker or a second brain that I can work with. And then I can go off of that to see, do I need to write a full document? Do I need to write an outline? How do I communicate my thinking in a structured way to different stakeholders and audiences?
That's great. We should all have one of them. But I sometimes forget to turn
it
off.
You can download Codex today.
Well, yes, I could. I have my own way of doing it with my AI chatbot, but I sometimes forget to turn it off, and suddenly he replies to me. And I'm thinking, oh, you weren't meant to be there anymore. Can you just explain exactly what Codex is?
Of course. So Codex is everything.
Everything.
Codex is an agentic tool that is actually for pretty much almost everything that you could want to do for knowledge and for technical work. So it's an app which you can download. You can use it whether you're technical or not. And you can sign in using your ChatGPT account. You can ask with natural language questions. So whether it is that you want to do question answer or whether you want to ask it to build things for you. And there are a lot of capabilities within the app. So first of all, if you ask it questions and you say, build me an app for, as we said earlier, for example, visualize my information, there is within the app a browser window. So it will show you what it looks like as it builds it. You never have to leave the app. Everything is done within the app. If you say, go into my email and summarize my emails from Laura, then it will do that. It has multiple plugins. So we announced over 90 plugins with multiple tools like Figma and Spotify and Salesforce and Canva, Booking and others. So it can work with whatever other tools you use to integrate and then again, do work there. It can build things on your computer. So if you want to do something that actually requires coding, so it really adapts to your level of technical skill.
And this is very much in line with this kind of incredible hype, excitement, optimism about
Yeah.
agentic AI. That, you know, if we had the ChatGPT moment
Yeah.
around LLMs, then this year with OpenClaw, you've had this kind of incredible moment of everyone realizing quite how powerful agents can be.
Just to go in like the power of Codex and how much I trust it. So this week I was lecturing at London Business School, and I did something which I have never done before. So I had written a doc of some thoughts, and I went in the class and I said, I have this document. I'm going to give it to Codex. I'm going to ask it to create a PowerPoint presentation that I will teach in class, and I have not yet seen it. And I gave it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So I gave it, and I asked it to make a presentation, and then I presented, and it looks great. But I knew that I could trust it enough because it is that good to actually autonomously build something. And it created a 6-slide presentation with graphs, with tables, with some numbers, and it worked. And to get to the point where the tools are good enough to do that for you, I think is really quite magical.
And just so enticing what that can mean for increased productivity, but also just ease of life in terms of the personal admin that you can then start stripping out.
Yeah, it's
because you can.
Well, we had a team hackathon this week where basically the whole team said, let's build something, because we're all working on similar things, and everyone built their own tool, and then we'll see in the end how do you combine them. And for example, one of my colleagues built a thing that integrates within her email and the CRM and some public information. And basically every hour says, what have I missed? What is new? What has any one of my customers launched? Are there news that are relevant to me? Should I reach out to someone or not? Again, this is just being more informed within your job, but it now checks every hour because we have this thing called Heartbeat. So you can schedule tasks that are done on a regular basis. For me, I really care about certain founders and investors, what they're saying online. So I have an automation that just looks at, again, I get a summary of, maybe Laura posted on X, that she's having a great day. I want to know that so that when I see her, I can say, I'm happy you had a good day, or whatever it is, right? So the fact that you can do that and then it continues to take action, continues to inform itself, continues to improve, I think is really what gives the longer horizon task benefit.
I'm loving the idea of a team hackathon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, how many places of work have a team hackathon?
Yeah, I think everyone should, because you see what is relevant and how one can help each other, but also once you start seeing others build, then it becomes so possible and relevant that maybe if you have 6 people in the team, the 4 built and the 2 were not really sure how to get started. But if you do it again next time, everyone does it, and then you can go further and further. So sometimes what you need is just to get started.
And of course, just that confidence to experiment with all of these different tools is really what unlocks innovation. It unlocks that potential.
And mind you, I built this 5-page incredible dashboard with all this information. I had not been a technical person in my previous life. I had not opened the CLI and the terminal, etc. But now, if I want to, I can see what's happening without even leaving the app. I can see the terminal in the app if I choose to. I can see the code in the app if I choose to, or I can just look at a beautiful dashboard in the in-app browser.
But even just talking about the CLI, the terminal, are terms that most people outside of tech would be completely unfamiliar with. And that is where it really is becoming open to far more people, a far more diverse range of people to get involved in building products. And there's lots of fears around the biases in AI and the concerns around it being narrow. And of course, those fears are valid and real. But there's also that enticing potential that a far richer diversity of people can get involved, access those tools, and make a difference. What do you see in your role in terms of the founders that you're engaging with and the opportunities that are presented?
I think what's interesting is that AI founders tend to be very technical. And if you are technical, you can move a lot faster. Now, that was up to a few months ago. Now, as of maybe the last 2 months, even people who were not very technical to begin with are having such fast learning curves on how to use the tools because of Codex, and they're getting so much power from it that they can build very, very quickly, something that just wasn't possible before. I do personally recommend that you should try out everything and you should get familiarity with how something works, even if you're not learning to code, but you don't have to. This is something that I like doing because I like digging into it. But I think what you should 100% be doing is find ways to build something for you. Once you do it for you a few times, then you can see, okay, well, I know how to build, I know how to test, I know how to iterate, I have a prototype, now I can do it for someone else.
It's great that you've had your own experience of actually creating something for the lecture that you were giving. And I expect you're pretty good at prompting, and we know what a difference the prompting actually makes. So when AI is available to so many of us at such a great level, how on earth does someone build something that's unique that they can keep hold of and someone else isn't going to just copy?
So I think you build with everything that you have now. And again, as I was saying before, the power of Codex is that it can really look at everything you have and your context. So for example, I built a dashboard that looks with some founders that I have at a priority 1, give me an alert if they haven't had any contact from anyone in my team in the last 30 days. And it looks again at the CRM, at email, at Slack, at everything we have. I can build this automation. This works for me because this is what I'm interested in, but because it connects in all my tools as well. Now, what that looks like for me and what that looks like for you might be very different. The other thing is just learning how to use the tools, again, has to be a personal journey. And it's something that is relevant for everyone. What I did earlier on, actually, I did this for everyone in my family as well. I said in ChatGPT, create a project. Within the project, open settings, instructions, and say, you are a teacher, and teach me XYZ in this way that works for you, so that there was a continuous learning journey within that project for them. So there are ways for everyone, wherever they're starting from, to create an AI teacher for them within the tools and to have the learning growth and curve that they want.
This is really useful at an individual level, but when it comes to building a company, it opens up the access for lots of people to do lots of things. So how does someone keep what they're doing as unique without lots of other people trying to recreate the same thing?
I think that's a matter, again, of context and taste. So not everyone has the same taste. And I think everyone had capabilities of building things throughout history. It's just some people do it and some people don't. The difference between companies often is the taste, the context, the kind of data, how it integrates multiple different things. Two companies will never be the same.
So when a startup comes to you, you feel like they've got all the right elements, this works, as opposed to something where it feels like, yeah, they've got the idea, they could build something with AI, but it's not going to quite do the job.
Usually, by the time that a company starts getting very engaged with me, they've already started building something. But in a hackathon, I do see things that do need more work. And I can always give feedback on maybe, turn left or right or dig a little bit deeper. People can do it very, very quickly. And again, put their own taste and direction and context and goals and customer feedback that they have in to build a direction for what it is.
So there's so much in the direction.
Yes.
And a lot of the point is that because the barriers have become so low to starting AI startups, it means there's a proliferation of startups. That also means it's harder to stand out, right? That there's so many. What is it that makes the difference?
I would say that there are more problems that we're also solving now. So there are more areas within which and further in that people are solving in. So there's definitely room for everyone. There's also, as you have new technology, then there's a technology behind the technology or on top of it. So now there are, for example, we're now doing more agentic coding. People are building more code with agents. I recently saw a company or a founder that is coming out of university that has built a platform that looks at finding in a collaborative way just the differences between the code and what is that impacting so that they can create more value. That company and that use case would not exist had the other thing not existed. So the more innovation there is, the more use cases exist, the more room for new companies exist.
It's like a fractal as you zoom in more. So
exactly, and this is what rate of progress throughout history has looked at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like so. Yeah,
and I think you talked about, and certainly we talk about a lot all the time, that startups aren't really proper businesses; they're experiments, right? They are people trying to just see what works, try and find a value proposition for a customer.
Startup ideas are
sure
once they are startup companies, I think they definitely are businesses, and we're definitely here to make sure that they become successful and they keep growing. Everyone will have a different rate of growth.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And in that process, they'll find some things work, some things don't.
Yes.
They'll pivot. They will.
Absolutely. And that, by the way, has been true for the most successful companies as well. Many companies have pivoted. Many companies have had different iterations. So startups are real companies, and within that, as they grow, they will have many experiments that some will succeed, some will fail, but they will all inform what the next successful step is.
Absolutely. Like, to me, it's part of why the research base can get excited about the startup journey.
Yeah.
Often researchers think, oh, it's something completely different. It's the big bad kind of commercial world, whereas actually it's a process of experimentation. It's much like the scientific method that you have a hypothesis, you run a method to test it.
And by the way, this is true for every size of company. Every company should continue to innovate again in the service of their users.
And of course, we're seeing it. It's like going to warp speed at the moment, isn't it?
Yes.
What founders can do in such a short space of time now compared to even just 6 months ago, a year ago, is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's even in the last just under 2 years that I've been at OpenAI, the speed with which you can go from idea to prototype to launch, or from launching to having $1 million in ARR has contracted significantly. And again, if we go back to, I was talking about Codex earlier, it is so fast to prototype, to build, to work with all the tools, and to do that with a smaller team with less capital so that everyone can start and try. And then the great ideas get funding and hiring, and the ecosystem comes together. It is why we're now seeing so many hackathons and activations and hacker houses everywhere popping up around Europe in a way that I think if I go back 5 or 6 years, it wasn't the same case. So now everyone's feeling that energy of everything is possible and let's just go for it.
How important do you think those hackathons are?
I think they're very important for 2 reasons. One, people get to try the tools, and we as OpenAI sponsor a lot of them because we want to give people access even if they don't always have the access. But also because as the community organizes and comes together, the idea sharing, seeing what's possible, seeing how others are building can help everyone along the way. And I do think that the bottoms-up community activation organization is what creates a lot of the energy and the forward movement that we're now seeing.
So you have a particular and a fantastic perspective. You grew up in Europe, you studied in the US, you come back to Europe, and now you're working for one of the biggest AI labs based out of San Francisco, but with a role across Europe.
Yeah.
How do you see the interplay between the US and Europe and the UK specifically in AI?
Well, first of all, we have a great office in London as well as multiple offices around Europe. So we are very much a company that has a European contribution and European team that is here, that works with founders here. We're accessible in person. We travel around the region, and we're here to support the European startup ecosystem as we do globally. But we have offices in London, in Paris, in Munich, in Zurich, in Dublin, in Belgium. So we're here to support founders in Europe because we believe in them and their potential and their success here.
And what do you see as the potential strengths, the advantages that Europe and the UK have in this context?
First of all, I think that European founders are playing at the same level as US founders and have equal right to success. Some global leading companies within their verticals are here. I mentioned Revolut before, Lovable, which is in Sweden. A lot of the robotics companies are coming from Switzerland. We're seeing companies like Parloa, which is customer service out of Germany. There are companies in every corner of Europe. We work with a company in Vilnius. We work with companies in Estonia and in Spain. And I'm from Greece. We now have an accelerator with Greek startups. So I don't think that there is one corner that gets to win. I think that Europe as a whole is winning because there's progress across the region and incredible companies in every single market that we have.
Of course, we had the explosion of everybody using ChatGPT, discovering what they could do. And now we're gradually moving into the age of the AI agent.
Yeah.
And it's all about how the AI can do specific things rather than just provide information. Recently announced Consensus have a collaboration with OpenAI. Really interesting platform looking at medical papers and for information that you can trust for specific conditions and hopefully avoiding any hallucinations. When you go out looking for these collaborations, these companies that can bring something really exciting need your platform to drive it. What is it that you're looking for?
So I can't speak to what we're looking for when we have partnerships from the corporate development side. What I can say is that I work with startups that are building here today. And I look at what are the startups that we work with to support them in their growth. And happily, it isn't a single type. It's not the coding ones. It's not the medical ones. It is everything. And what is different in the age of AI compared to the SaaS times is that there isn't a single way or you slot it in. You can actually create value everywhere, whether it is for blue collar workers, whether it is in construction, whether it is in real estate, whether it is in the restaurant industry, whether it is in medicine or financial services. In every single vertical, you can give people superpowers and you can create platforms of services that make the people go back to what it is that they love at their work, give more security and safety within what they do, but also job security and safety for people in blue-collar workers, for example, who are given ways to continue to learn what it is that they do and how to use the equipment so that they can get on board faster and then can stay safely in their jobs for longer. So it is great to see that this technology is really positive for the technology and the economy across the board.
You talk about the kind of superpower and the transition from SaaS to now.
Yeah.
And like vibe coding wasn't even kind of a thing on people's language not that long ago. Whereas
Yes.
so much talk now about the democratization of that superpower, that we've
Yes.
gone from a few million coders to now billions of people who can build incredible products. So you've got this proliferation of opportunity that anyone can get involved with it. But with that huge noise in the ecosystem of everyone's trying to do something.
Yes.
What is it that you're really looking for, maybe consciously or subconsciously?
I think everyone should be doing something with it, whether you're doing it for yourself, whether you're doing it for a small business, whether you're doing it within your enterprise, because there's potential for automation. And again, I think it's something we forget to say of how important it is for us to go back to what we love. Like, I love talking to customers. I love talking to founders. I love talking to students. Do I love going through the data and putting in my CRM? Not so much. So I now can build my own personal automations in my work to do what I love and to do what I love better while still getting home and putting my daughter to bed. So I am eternally grateful for that technology. At the same time, there are some people who are brilliant founders who get to use that technology to build companies that give services to others. So I think the fact that anyone can build automations and code the right tools for them in their personal and professional life or for their friends or whatever it may be, and you can create businesses on the back of it that are hugely, that have the potential to be hugely successful, and revenue generating and value creative for a lot of other people, I think is where the intersection of that is where the magic happens, that it is no longer exclusively for developers. So within ChatGPT, we have over 900 million users globally, but in Codex, which the app itself, we only launched in February, and we now have 4 million users, weekly active users of Codex, which by the way is up from 3 million less than 2 weeks ago and has 5x in the last 3 months, shows how much people are looking to do things on an individual level, but we're also seeing a huge boom on the professional and founder level. So again, it's for everyone.
And that's what's so enticing at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that everything is moving so quickly. So you talk about the incredible rate of growth on Codex as a
Yes.
platform. Around that, those 4 million weekly active users
Yes.
are all building a proliferation of different services that maybe getting to 1 million, maybe getting to 10 million ARR in a time scale that would have been unthinkable even just 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that we've done things in a specific way for a very long time. And I think again, in the previous cycle, how we did innovation and what startups were doing was create value, but often looking at unit economics. So you would look at a value chain or a process and you would say, okay, well, I'm going to optimize this thing right here. And I would make this perfect. Or I would add a step that had a SaaS tool. Great. Whereas now with AI, you can actually improve the whole platform. So you can redesign how the full process of working in a law firm, or what does it look like for a patient to come in to the hospital and leave the hospital with better patient outcomes rather than just one step of the service that they had when they were in. And I really do encourage founders to think about the whole experience end to end and what the final, top line or bottom line are they targeting, not just what the step in between looks like, so that you can think about creating value in the end.
And which is exciting from a founder point of view. From a larger corporate point of view or incumbent SaaS companies, and there's huge amounts of angst. Obviously, SaaS valuations have gone off a cliff this year because more and more people are saying, well, do I renew my Salesforce license or do I just use Codex to build exactly what I want? And I can automate my processes end to end so I can take out that layer of SaaS vendors that are really expensive, do the specific slices. Like, where do you see that going over the next?
What we see with Codex is that we've launched a lot of plugins and we continue to add more plugins, and people can bring whatever tools that they use as a plugin within Codex or work with Codex in the tool that they have through integrations. So, for example, the CRM that we use as a company, I connect that to Codex. I'm not taking it out in any way. I am just enhancing how I get information from it faster. The same thing with my email, the same thing with design processes and others. So it is using a central tool to connect to everything else, and I can still keep the stack that I have if I want. Or we're seeing a lot of SaaS companies that are actually growing very quickly. Again, whether it is companies that are in the financial services like Revoluts of the world, all the way to companies that are already in AI, such as Synthesia, which is an AI video company, that are having more growth as they add more AI capabilities in the products that they have. So the growth is coming everywhere, and every company, wherever they sit in the stack, can continue to add more capabilities, both for their staff and for their consumers, by adding more AI capabilities in them. So the continuous innovation is what keeps companies going. And I think it would be fair to say that any company, no matter the size, continues to grow by continuously adding more capabilities and services, as they always have. It just happens that now they're happening faster because they are AI enabled.
Yeah, the speed of productivity and efficiency is, of course, incredible. There are also quite a few things that you've said that I think your average person on the street would be terrified by. The fact that so many jobs could be automated all the way through. And there are lots of things that make people nervous. And I know that's not what we're here to talk about today. Don't worry, I'm not.
But I will say, so it's not what I said. I said that within your job, you can create automations to make your job go faster. And be more and complete the tasks that you had in a much shorter amount of time. So to give you again the example for me, I still had to go, whether I have AI or not, I would still have to check all the leads that I have and all the new companies, whether they exist in my CRM. Whether I have AI or not, this is a job that I have and I have to do. The fact that I can save myself time and do it faster so that I can do more things did not in any way challenge me. It just made it easier.
Of course,
and
the
faster.
human oversight is still crucial. I just wanted to give a nod to the fact that I think lots of people are nervous, but there is incredible possibility out there. And one of the things that I'm most excited about for this is what's happening in AI and health.
Yes.
And as somebody who had come from healthcare to going into AI, how do you feel that you made that move at the point at which it was so important, and it really is one of the most powerful places for change?
Well, first of all, to honor the medical field and the healthcare industry as a whole, I think it was more at the front of AI before other industries, and it has been using AI for a very long time.
Yeah, dates back to the 1960s or 70s at Stanford. I mean, it's the stuff we never talk about, but it's been a long time.
So the transition that I had from healthcare to AI, for me, was very natural because I was already working with AI. It's just that the big innovation was generative AI. So to make the distinction, AI is artificial intelligence, generative AI is AI that creates something that wasn't there before. So, for example, if you were to look, which we had before generative AI, if you were to look at an X-ray and say, is there a tumor here or not, and you trained it with clinicians over multiple images, you could, with AI, have a more accurate identification of whether something was there or not than if you just paneled some humans. So yes, there was AI-assisted diagnosis for a very long time. The same way that you could use AI to say, is the patient moving in their bed or not? If they're not moving, maybe ping a clinician to say the patient is having immobility and maybe we need to tend to them because maybe they're having some kind of crisis, and many other use cases which existed in the hospital. So there was a lot of AI in the healthcare world, which really interested and educated me in the field of AI. Now with generative AI, what you can do, which you couldn't do before, is to say, oh, I'm listening to the conversation that a clinician and a patient is having, and I can now generate a report or the summary of what happened in that meeting plus potential next steps. So that now is generating something new that did not exist before and is not just decision making, but actually creation. So there's a big shift. We recognize that. What is now going even further is that you can do that across everything in medicine. And you can create more productivity, but more accuracy. You can help patients, you can help clinicians. It's not single point, but you can help across the industry. And having seen that potential and the benefit in the industry for many years throughout my career before, I have been an AI and tech optimist from day one because I've seen the power that it has to deliver value, real patient value. And as you said, I've had a long career before OpenAI, one of which was to work at UCLH, so University College of London Hospital, and the NHS England. I worked in the office. I wasn't a clinician, but because I was interested, I used to do rounds and I used to see patients. And I look back to those days when I would walk around and I would look at, the productivity of people and how they would look at the paper notes, etc. And I think, had we then what we have now, how much more could we have done? And then I see the results coming out of hospitals now, and I say, thank goodness that we have progress so that more people can get more care and that we continue to innovate, again, in the service of the people who are at the front lines, who are fighting every day to deliver care so that people coming in with whatever it is that they have can be better cared for.
Yeah, the efficiency of hospital beds, the being able to release people from hospital, there's so much that AI is doing for that. But I think kind of central to the whole idea is actually we are pulling in so much data to really understand lifestyle, behaviour, genetic risk and disease occurrence to understand who is at risk of what when. So when you're going out looking for startups, are you particularly interested in some of the companies that are doing that? There seem to be a lot of companies out there that are trying to pull in the medical records alongside all of that data. And it seems like a battle for it. But obviously OpenAI is actually doing it itself to some extent.
Yeah, so I get very excited when I work with founders. So in our team, we work with startups that are building their solutions. So when I do see ones that are in the healthcare, medical space, and life science space, because there's the whole world of drug discovery as well, I get very excited because having worked on the ground, having seen the toil and the effort and the work and the care that the medical profession puts in to care for people. I remember this was a very hard day for me. I was at UCLH and I was doing rounds, again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And I saw this patient and he was very elderly and he had fallen. And I said, oh my God, why are we not doing more? And they said, oh, he's come in 200 times this year because he lives alone, has no family. And every time he falls, there's nowhere for him to go. Oh. So even a fall off the sidewalk, he ends up in urgent care. And the fact that there was nowhere else for this person to go and there was no tracking and the system couldn't help beyond that made my heart break.
Sad.
So if we now have technologies that are helping this kind of individual because there's more tracking, because there's more capacity, because we're opening up, because the clinicians have more time, because we have solutions to help the elderly, then that is, yes, an N of one. But then if you scale it out to the whole country, I'm sure he wasn't the only person in the world. So
this is where, to me, so much comes from mindset, the optimism that AI can do all of these things. There's untapped potential. So many things that we can't even imagine yet that are becoming possible now versus the angst of, oh, jobs are going to go, oh, it's going to destroy this, it's going to destroy
if
that.
If that person, if this elderly person had a technology to have even a chatbot to talk to because they have no family or friends and the only people he got to talk to were the nurses in urgent care.
Yeah.
And they had someone to talk to and have a conversation with and to not feel alone at home or to have something that recognizes when something is going wrong, then that is real value that would help the individual. But it would also, save time and space and money within the medical system. So the level of innovation and help to society that AI can have, I have personally seen firsthand, and I hope will continue to deliver this value end to end.
The pace of that change is incredible. Where do you think we're heading? What's the vision for the future with all of this that you say?
I think there's a lot of different futures that you could paint. From my point of view, as I work with startups and with founders, I hope that people get to do jobs that make them happy, as I am happy in my work, and give them the tools and the opportunity to start something of their own for the problems that they see. Because not everyone needs to be a multi-billion-dollar founder working 18 hours a day, et cetera, et cetera. There are problems all around us. And maybe you want to build something that solves problems for your community and your immediate surroundings, and you can have a very good, successful life that has good, healthy revenue with something that you built. If that's what you want to do, great, we're here for that. And if you, in whatever enterprise you're in, want to find more automation, and we have larger companies creating more and more services that are filling in the blanks, then we're here for that as well. But for me, and with startups, I want to make sure that anyone who wants to start a company from day one has all the tools, the support, the access, the learning resources to go and do that, and we make it accessible. We're in the ecosystem for them to go to a hackathon or online, wherever it may be, so that they feel that they can take that leap towards entrepreneurship and build what matters to them.
And what you're talking about sounds a lot like that domain expertise that, and a lot of the startup founders that I talk to, a lot of the people I talk about the real value now of domain expertise, that it's less about your coding expertise. It is now, what's your domain insight? What is it that you know about this area that then you can use these tools to then affect significant change in that industry, this particular challenge? What's the view from the OpenAI side, from your personal side, interacting with founders about where that value gets created?
So my view is that I know what I know, which is how to help founders get going. My job is not to know everything. My job is to help them get going and to trust them that they know what they know, and that whatever problem any individual wants to solve, if they see real value, that they have the tools for that. So it's not for me to say this is better than that at all. It is to say, the day that you decide to no longer build for yourself and your own automation, but to do it in service of others, that you want to solve people's problems and have a business that you're making out of what you're building, that we are the platform that will support you from day one and across that whole journey, because we will continue to build for you. We will continue to listen. We will take your feedback. We will continue to build more tools, more capabilities, and offer whatever resources are possible for founders to do that. And we don't want to limit that. On the contrary, we want to shepherd it, and we want to make it possible for anyone who makes that leap to entrepreneurship to do it successfully from day one.
Which is great to hear, because there's some talk that's saying sort of the OpenAIs, the Anthropics of this world, the large labs are becoming so valuable that actually your individual value as OpenAI is more than the aggregate value of all of the apps that are running on the back of OpenAI.
I work in startups because I believe in startups. I wake up and I go to sleep making sure that they can be successful. So for me, my job exists because we believe that startups have a big place in this world, and we want to help them and make them successful.
There's something I really want to know. We have had quite a few people sit in your seat and talk about how it's all about the founders. We're investing in the people. What do you think of that statement? How much is it about the founder versus how much it is about what they're doing?
The founder is my stakeholder, my user. I never think that what you're building is as important as who you're building it for. So my North Star is always, who is it that I'm doing this for? So for me, I work with startups, so I work for founders. And what matters to me is that they have what they need, but then they're building for others. So in a way, we're making sure that they can build for everyone else, but you always have to see who you're building it for.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective, actually. I like the idea of thinking who you're building it for, who you're doing it for, which I'm sure everyone we speak to has that within there, but I like the kind of headline on that.
It's also what I tell founders.
So excited by the technology that it's all just about the tech, and they forget that there has to be a customer. There's got to be someone that benefits.
I always go on and on and on about feedback. I used to say everyone should have a chief feedback officer, because someone told me once, it's like large enterprises, they're like tankers. And startups, they're like speedboats. And it's that a tanker will take longer to make turns and is going towards a direction, whereas a speedboat can go here or there or the other. But it takes the input from whatever users they have in order to get faster to exactly the direction they have to get to. And that's what I love about startups, that they're not constrained by anything other than the speed that they put on themselves and the fuel that we give them to go faster. So we really want to be what makes them go as fast as possible, but it is for them to then make sure that they're in the service of their users, taking the feedback and building in the direction that is right for them.
How does it work when you start working with a startup? They've obviously come to you because they want to use a large language model at the heart of what they're doing, but they are also hoping for some sort of cross promotion, are they? How does it work logistically?
Mostly, so I work a lot with AI startups, obviously. They use our API. And then a lot of the work that we do is really make sure that they have the right access to our technical team, so AI deployment engineers who are in my team, so that we can make sure that the model is right for their use case. And we're a company that ships a lot and often. So as we said, in February, we'll launch the Codex app. This week, we have a new real-time model, which is a voice model. We just had a new image model recently. So in every single category, I mean, we had GPT 5.5 that just recently came out and is doing extremely well. So whether you're looking at the API, in Codex, in voice, in image, we continuously ship. And we want our users to be able to understand the pace of shipping and what new capabilities are there. If anything is new that could be relevant to their companies, that they can reach out and we can help guide them. We also have a lot of online resources for them to find ways for that as well, so that it's possible to access that at scale.
Where do you see the best opportunities and spaces for founders? Like you talk about the new voice model that you've just released, the image model you've released, and I'm thinking of Synthesia, I'm thinking of 11 Labs, and I'm thinking, well, okay, is that good for them? Is that bad for them? Like, what should founders really be looking at as the space where they're really going to have an opportunity not only to grow initially, but also to defend?
So most companies, as the models get better, they get better, including the ones that you mentioned. So as you have better image generation, you can do better video generation on the back of it, right? So as you have more coding capabilities, you can code whatever you're building better and faster, more accurately, et cetera. So we're giving, again, the fuel for that boat to go wherever it wants to go. But there isn't one space that I think is better than another. Again, it depends on how much each founder wants to solve a specific problem. We want to make everything better so that they can use those tools for that use case.
Yeah, and I certainly resonate with your tanker versus speedboat analogy. I was talking to a hardware startup founder just last night in the optics and semiconductor space. And he was talking about, look, the incumbent competition, it takes them 7 years to get a new product out. A new chip out, it is years in development. They move incredibly slowly. We can do this so much quicker. That's where the advantage comes and where disruption happens.
So, I mean, speaking of hardware, I was recently in Zurich, and they're at the robotics club, and they have a great robotics club, student robotics club. They also just launched ESRA, which is the European Student Robotics Association, which brings, I think, 13 or 14 universities around Europe in partnership for all the robotics students. And across the board, they're all saying, we're using Codex because in robotics, there's so much that we need to simulate and understand. And a lot of them are using Codex just to see how they can have their productivity and what they're doing on the computer side as they're building their robots as well. So there is potential for these tools across every single thing.
Absolutely fascinating. Laura, thank you so much.
Yeah, really great to talk and just hear your insights.
Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Just fantastic to meet Laura and hear that enthusiasm, not just for the many founders that she gets to work with and working with those brilliant people building products. And that resonates very strongly with me. I love just hanging out with and being able to help and support brilliant, passionate people who are building new products, but also excitement for how the products that they have in OpenAI, the incredible power of the technology that is growing in AI across the whole ecosystem is enabling millions of people who previously weren't able to build products in software now to be able to experiment, to innovate, to just try stuff to solve problems they've got personally or address needs that they see in the world.
And it's always great to talk to someone who loves their job. I love my job. One thing I really take away from that conversation is to think about what I want an AI agent to do for me. I use AI for a lot of things, But when it comes to actually getting the AI to do things for me, I think I need to up my game because so much is possible.
And that's what I find so intoxicating in the AI ecosystem at the moment, is it is moving so quickly that when you spend time with people at the forefront of this, you're discovering people who are automating so much, that are leveraging their tools to such an extent that you can feel like a laggard. And it's only been weeks that this has moved forward, and suddenly it's leapt miles forward.
Yeah, and obviously I have a lot of conversations about these things that AI can do, but I think I'm still holding on to control of everything. And it's actually that point of letting go of the control and actually allowing AI to do a bit more. And I think I'll probably feel a little bit of that turning point having thought about it more.
And that very much is at this ecosystem level, this shift of 2026 of agentic AI. And
yeah, that's
all
it.
the hype around agentic AI is that move from more passive response, serving up information, working for us, to then more actively and proactively working as an independent and autonomous agent that you can direct, that you can guide, but will then go off and work on its own accord.
Yeah, and it's interesting how mainstream a lot of this is going to become or not, because I feel like most people are now using AI for conversation, for helping them plan trips, say, for helping them with recipes. There are lots of things lots of people are using it for. When it comes down to creating that agent that's going to do things for you in your life, how mainstream is that going to go and when?
And I just think it'll be fascinating to see as those tipping points start emerging for individuals. There'll be the early adopters who are automating everything and getting agents put to work. And many of them already just really delighted by what they're able to do. But yes, there will be that mass adoption as people start to learn how do you implement that. And we'll see, millions of different examples of applications running on, whether it's OpenAI or Anthropic or any of the other large models, where they're turning these agents out and different products, making it really simple for people to do stuff, or really complex in terms of what they can achieve. And some of those will percolate to the top and turn out to be real game changers. And there's bound to be companies that we've never heard of yet, that don't exist yet, that perhaps in 6 months, a year's time, everyone will be talking about, and they'll be saying, wow, this has revolutionized my life.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out what they are.
Yeah.
And that's it for this week, isn't it?
And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, obviously click like, click subscribe, but also share your comments. Get in touch with us. We love to hear from you what it is that you're interested in, what kind of questions you have. And of course, refer it to your friends and your colleagues. Just get the community brought around what we're doing. We want this conversation about AI and what it can achieve here in the UK, across the world, to just reach as many people as possible.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.